This is a Fox News alert. The illegal immigrant wanted for killing a police officer in California arrested after a massive 48-hour manhunt. The sheriff in charge of the investigation blaming sanctuary laws, saying the suspect had 2 previous DUI arrests, and if he had been reported, Officer Ronil Singh would still be alive. Authorities also saying the suspect had known gang affiliations and was trying to flee to Mexico. The slain officer was shot and killed during a traffic stop on Wednesday morning. 2 others have also been arrested for helping the suspected murderer evade capture. Police announcing the arrest at an emotional press conference with the officer's family. Watch.
I am pleased and very proud of the fact that the suspect is in custody. He has been apprehended in Bakersfield. He was safely taken into custody earlier today by teams from the Kern County Sheriff's Office and many other law enforcement agencies who have helped us relentlessly pursue this suspect in pursuit of justice. Gustavo Perez Arriaga, 33 years old, again, was arrested earlier today during the execution of a search warrant. He was found at a residence in the Bakersfield, Kern County area, and we'll get into the specifics of that. First, I want to introduce Officer Ronil Singh's brother, Reggie. He'd like to share a few words with all of you.
Please bear with me. This is not easy for me. Ronil Singh was my older brother. Yes, he's not coming back, but there's a lot of people out there that misses him. And a lot of law enforcement people that I don't know that work days and nights to make this happen. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart to make this happen. I wish I could thank all the law enforcement agencies, Homeland Security in San Francisco, everyone, Bakersfield team. I was waiting for this to happen. I'd like to thank you, working day and night to make this happen. Thank you.
Absolutely devastating. So, Greg, what does this do to our conversation right now about immigration and the border wall?
Well, I mean, first of all, it is obviously tragic, but it's also infuriating. It's infuriating because it was wholly preventable. If you stick to the facts, it's an illegal who entered the country illegally, obviously illegal. He was part of a notorious street gang. He had a couple of arrests, and he murdered a police officer on Christmas Day. Now, you could posit the notion that illegal immigrants are less violent than the legal population or the people born here. That's fine. But, you know, more Americans die from heart disease than from cancer. That doesn't mean you don't fight cancer, okay? So that argument goes away. The fact is, if you had prevented his illegal immigration, you would have a police officer, a good man who is still alive. Second part, and that leads to the media will accuse people like us of using a tragedy in order to impact political discourse. Well, where did we learn that from, right? After every natural disaster, it's linked to climate change. After every mass shooting, it's linked to lack of gun control. When the child of an illegal immigrant attempts to cross the country and ends up in the hospital, that's because we're a cold, heartless country who didn't treat these people correctly. So we've learned this, and it makes me think that perhaps we should be using these tragedies. What else can we do? Is if we see that this is wholly preventable, then what's really infuriating, it happened while we're having this discussion. We've been having this rolling discussion for 2 years about this. And it happened, if only someone had listened to it before, he would be alive. So that's it's something that just, people go, oh, you're using this for politics. No, this is actually evidence that something has to be done.
Marie?
I think what we've seen this week with this case, with one of the cases Greg mentioned of one of the children who had died in custody, Kate Steinle in San Francisco, just the countless stories of people who go to great physical dangers to come to this country, is that the lack of an immigration policy that works in this country is incredibly tragic and heartbreaking. And it has tragic consequences that ripple in so many different ways.
Okay,
and
but let me ask you one specific question. What do you say to the people who argue that sanctuary cities oftentimes protect people just like this, not hardworking immigrants who are doing whatever they can to get a foothold in this country and make lives better for themselves and for their families, but for people like this who have prior arrests, who shouldn't have been in the country, especially after putting other people's lives at risk with DUI arrests, and they essentially are shielded. What do you say?
Here's what I would say. We need to take a look at everything and try and figure out what some solutions would be. Is a border wall actually something that would be a solution? There are Republicans like Will Hurd from Texas, a congressman, who actually says it wouldn't be a good solution. There are smart people who do not believe this is the right solution. Is cracking down on sanctuary cities something that would have an evidence-based, demonstrable impact? I don't know the answer. I'm not an expert. But what's so frustrating about this shutdown is we are obsessed with this one thing, the wall. Can we get DACA for the wall, which I actually think, or some wall funding, which I think would be a good trade-off. But the broader picture here, is the wall the right thing? What role do sanctuary cities play? What should we do with DACA? What about visa overstays, which is a huge problem? These big issues are not being tackled right now. And that is what is really tragic in all of this. We get bogged down in the day-to-day. Both sides go to equal extreme opposites, and nobody is willing to come to the middle.
But I think part of the reason why is because I believe a lot of Democrats are being disingenuous when it comes to the wall. We have reached the point of two things. We know that Mexico is not going to pay for the wall, and that we're not going to have a wall over the entire border. That's not going to happen. Both sides know that's not going to happen. Yeah. We know that the president is going to get some type of border security
and we're going to talk about border security in just a little bit. But, let's talk about this officer, because this is tragic. Yeah. And, this happens at Christmas time, and it's every law enforcement family in the country feels that pain, because that's your biggest fear, is that the person that you love who wears the uniform to keep other people safe is not going to come home. His family is devastated. His department is devastated. Are we having the right kind of conversation about this?
I think that's a great point, too. When you look, he has a 5-month-old, and just watching the video of the people who work with him, the officers, I think a lot of times people forget that these law enforcement officials, they are really a family, and they go out there every single day and they risk their lives for us. And when you see their reaction, there is a component of this that is preventable. There is no way that you could watch this and somehow step back and defend sanctuary cities. I mean, that is a part of the conversation that should not be happening. There are good people on both sides of the debate about immigration. You want to talk about comprehensive reform. You even want to talk about the wall. You make good points. Some people feel maybe the wall isn't the best route, or maybe the wall isn't the only route. It has to be coupled with other things. But you're going to watch this and somehow defend a sanctuary city that defies federal law, and mayors like the mayor of Oakland, who comes out and lambasts ICE and says to its residents, you know what, I'm going to give you a warning to protect you from ICE. Border Patrol agents have been vilified. ICE has been vilified. And there are people in this country who are a known risk, who have a known record, and they are being allowed to exist here. And you have to prevent these people from being able to get here and from not being held accountable for what they're doing.
I think, part of what Marie is saying is that you do need a better system. Right. And the government has failed us utterly in terms of immigration, because people like that should not be in the country. People like that who want to hurt people and so easily take someone's life, because this guy knows that if he was arrested, he would have been deported. It would have been his third DUI arrest, and he's got a gang-affiliated tattoo on his arm. And
here's the deal. Crimes like this can happen if you take a political or symbolic stance at the risk of the citizens. It's like a sanctuary city is essentially a risk that you place on citizens for a symbolic gesture. It's a symbolic virtue signal. Hey, we care. We're not like Trump. We're not like the rest of everybody else. We care. Come to our cities. Never mind that actually elevates risks. So the whole thing is a travesty, because it's designed to actually make certain people feel better while you pay the price.
When the media covers this, though, you had to sift through. When I was looking at the headlines of this story, you had to sift through one article, paragraph 7, you had to get to before they said that this person was here illegally. And then you have the parallel of Trump being vilified every day for talking about a wall, for prioritizing border security, for talking about drug trafficking, for talking about gang violence.
Do we know that he came in through an illegal port of entry, though?
I
don't know that.
I think the details are still emerging here. All of this is tragic, right? Like, a police officer getting killed by a citizen is also tragic. we have to look at how things are preventable and how we fix the system. And I think that both sides are very good at vilifying the other. You know, these children that are dying in DHS custody, this has to stop.
But that was in a hospital, wasn't it, the second one?
Well,
I mean, is that custody? I guess technically it's custody, but it's also people trying to save their lives.
In order to stop that, you secure the border. Again, that's how you stop it, because you stop incentivizing people to go through these horrific conditions to get here.
There are legal... Under our laws, showing up and applying for asylum is still legal. Yeah. If we want to make that illegal, we can change the laws. But my point is, the immigration system in our country needs fixing. It needs smart people.
But you don't just get to come across the border while we work on that, though. No, it is.
That is a straw man.
It's the fact that you just get to march over just because you don't like laws.
But I
Democrats don't want an open border.
That's
a straw man.
Fix the system. So why isn't Nancy Pelosi saying the first thing we are going to do is fix immigration? The first thing they say they're going to do is shove the shutdown in the president's face to show that they are resisting. Resisting is not fixing immigration and figuring out how to get good people in the country and the right number of people who can fill the jobs that are critically.
ICE agents aren't getting paid today, though, because of the shutdown.
But we spent the last 3 weeks. We had was it Times Man of the Year person, which is the journalists. The journalists are those that are in danger under Trump's America. We've seen a 12% increase in police killed in the line of duty. It was from 2018 to 2017. It was like 144 have been killed. That's where the risk is. When it comes to every one of these stories, no matter how political it is, it's the guy who gets there first who gets shot.
Well, we're going to get somewhere first, and that is the government shutdown.